For a time it was really quiet about what was going on. This silence was actually louder than any news story. Now Eamonn Holmes is talking openly about it. He is 66 years old. Eamonn Holmes is being honest. This is changing the way people see him. He is not being quiet about it anymore. What Eamonn Holmes said about Ruth Langsford is really bothering a lot of people. There were rumors going around, and people were not smiling like they used to. It seemed like the truth was being hidden on purpose. Now we know what is really going on, and it is actually worse than people thought. The truth about Ruth Langsford is very disturbing. Eamonn Holmes talking about it is making people see things differently. In May 2024, Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford said they were splitting up. This meant the end of a long relationship that people in Britain loved watching on television. Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford were together for 27 years. They were married for 14 of those years. When Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford made their announcement, it was the end of a partnership that was both their work and their personal life. Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford were not just people on television to millions of viewers. They were like friends who made people feel comfortable and safe when they watched morning television. Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford put out a statement together. In this statement, Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford said they were going in directions now. The tone was calm and respectful. People started to wonder what was going on because there were no details. They did not say why this was happening. Both of them wanted to keep the separation private. The separation of the couple sparked a lot of talk on platforms and media outlets because they were not saying much about it. The couple's separation remained a matter, but the separation still had people guessing. The relationship between these two people was always out in the open for everyone to see. They met in the 1990s, and people really liked them as a pair on ITV's This Morning Show. They were fun to watch because they seemed like they really liked each other, and their arguments did not seem fake. The relationship had its ups and downs over the years, with good things happening in their careers, changes in the business they worked in, and personal problems like Eamonn's health issues, which they dealt with in front of a lot of people. When they got married in 2010, it was a deal, and people were happy for them because they had been watching their relationship for a long time, more than 10 years, and it felt like the natural next step for the relationship. The separation of this couple was a surprise because they had been together for such a long time. A lot of people thought they were an example of a marriage that really worked both on television and in real life. The couple had shown that working together could actually make their marriage stronger, not weaker. When everyone found out that they were separating, people had all sorts of reactions. Some people were very sad, could not believe it, while others were more understanding and supportive of the couple. The separation of this couple was shocking news. Eamonn and Ruth got a lot of attention from the public. They still wanted to deal with things in a respectful way. They said they wanted to be kind to each other and that they still cared about their family. This meant that even though they were not together anymore, they wanted to handle the breakup like adults. Eamonn and Ruth were one of the famous couples on television, and now they were moving on. This showed that when people are famous, their relationships can change without everyone knowing what is going on, and that is okay because it is their own business. On June 26, 2024, Eamonn Holmes talked about the end of his marriage for the time. He was at the TRIC Awards in London. Eamonn Holmes spoke openly. He did not use words like many famous people do when they are having personal problems. Someone asked Eamonn Holmes how he was doing. He said he was not doing well. Eamonn Holmes said it was a bad time. People liked that Eamonn Holmes was being honest. It meant a lot because Eamonn Holmes was being very open about his feelings. The marriage of Eamonn Holmes was clearly not easy for him to talk about. Holmes is a television presenter who is known for being confident and quick with his words. He has been on television for decades. Lately, Holmes looked like he was really struggling with his emotions. The separation from Ruth Langsford was clearly affecting him. When Holmes spoke, he made clear that the end of his 27-year relationship with Ruth Langsford was not a matter of them slowly growing apart. It was a painful experience for Holmes. The end of his relationship with Ruth Langsford was a painful thing. Holmes said that the change was really hard for him to deal with. He also said that the end of the marriage was very tough on him emotionally. He was not sure if he and Langsford would still be friends. This was surprising to a lot of people who thought they were very close. When they were working together and when they were not, they always seemed to get along and work together whether they were on camera or not. Now it seems like that was not really how things were. The way they looked in public was very different from how they were. Holmes and Langsford had always looked like they were doing okay. Now we know that was not true. Holmes' remarks were really different from Langsford's talks. She seemed calm and strong when she talked about the separation. Holmes' words showed that he was confused and really sad. He was dealing with a lot of emotions. When he appeared at the TRIC Awards, it was not a big deal for the media. It was a chance for people to see how he was really feeling. It showed that even a famous person like Holmes can be hurt by a breakup. The separation was over the news, so he had to deal with his feelings in front of a lot of people. This made Holmes seem like a regular person who was dealing with a tough time, rather than just a famous guy. Holmes' situation was a reminder that breakups can be hard for someone like Holmes. In June 2024, Holmes had a lot of things going on. He said that his marriage was ending at the time he was dealing with a big health problem. He had an operation on his back. It did not make him feel better like it was supposed to. Instead, it made things worse. Now he has to deal with problems that he did not expect to have for a long time. The fact that Holmes is not as independent as he used to be is similar to the way he is feeling emotionally. His health problems and his marriage ending are both very difficult for him. Holmes is going through a time with his health and his marriage, and it is affecting him in many ways. Holmes said the pain was always there, and it limited what he could do. This affected how he moved around and how he felt inside. He said it was like he was running out of time. Holmes felt scared and worried about what was happening to him. He even thought about not going to the event because traveling and standing for periods was just too much for his body. The health crisis happened at a bad time. This was also when Holmes was dealing with the end of a 27-year relationship. He was having a lot of health problems like pain, and he could not move around easily. Holmes was also not sure if he would get better. All these things together made him feel really tired and weak. People who saw him that night noticed that he did not seem like himself. The health crisis and the end of the 27-year relationship and the chronic pain and reduced mobility and the uncertainty about recovery had all taken a toll on Holmes. He just did not seem confident as he used to be in public. That evening he looked subdued and not like himself all. The health crisis was a part of the reason why Holmes felt this way. People were talking about Holmes separating from Ruth Langsford. What Holmes said showed that he was dealing with personal loss and physical pain at the same time. Holmes was going through a time with his separation from Ruth Langsford, and he was also experiencing physical suffering. The reality of what Holmes was going through was not about his separation from Ruth Langsford. It was about Holmes facing personal loss and physical pain all at once. By the end of 2024, you could really see the difference between Ruth Langsford and Eamonn Holmes after they split up. Eamonn Holmes did not say much in public. Ruth Langsford decided to talk about what she was going through. She gave interviews to Woman and Home. She talked about the divorce in a very calm way. She did not sound bitter at all. Ruth Langsford said that when she and Eamonn Holmes were breaking up, she was really scared. The thought of being alone was too much for her to handle. As time went on, Ruth Langsford started to feel better. The fear that Ruth Langsford had started to go. She said that she was able to see things clearly and feel more sure of herself. She was happy to be on her own. The marriage ending was not a thing to her. It was a start. She liked having a routine and going to work. She also liked having time to herself. She felt comfortable with her life now. The marriage ending was a change, not something that did not work out. She was learning to enjoy being independent and doing things for herself. The marriage was over. She was moving on. Holmes did not say much. He had said some things before, but now he was not talking about how he was feeling. This made people think that the breakup was really hard for him. He was still not well. This, along with his silence, made people think he was really hurt. Ruth was talking about the breakup. It seemed like she was okay with it and moving on. Holmes was not saying anything, and this made people think he was still sad. The way they were acting was changing how people thought about their breakup. Ruth was talking about starting, but Holmes was quiet, and this made people think he was still feeling the pain of the breakup. In the beginning of 2025, Holmes was in the news again because of what he said in public. Some people thought he was criticizing his wife Ruth without saying her name. When Holmes was talking, he was thankful to the people who helped him when he was not feeling well. He also talked about how important it's to be loyal and honest, and to have people who will stand by you when you really need them. Holmes did not say anyone's name. People thought he was talking about Ruth because of when he said it. Some people thought what Holmes said was really from the heart, and that he was just saying thank you to everyone who helped him when he was going through a time. Other people thought he was trying to cause problems without saying anything bad. Holmes and his comments about loyalty and people who stand by you were talked about a lot. The people who, like Holmes, thought he was being sincere when he talked about loyalty, and the people who help you. The difference between Ruth's hopeful way of talking in public and her private feelings made people think that she and the other person were not feeling better at the same rate. Ruth's public tone was very measured. She always looked to the future. This made it seem like Ruth and the other person were in places when it came to dealing with their emotions. Ruth was moving forward. The other person was not. In February 2025, Ruth Langsford said she is writing a book called Feeling Fabulous. This book will come out in February 2026. A lot of people were excited about this news because it is the big thing Ruth Langsford has done on her own since her marriage ended. Ruth Langsford wants people to know that Feeling Fabulous is not a book that will spill all her secrets. Instead, the book Feeling Fabulous will talk about the changes in her life that made her the woman she is today, and that includes what happened with her divorce and how it affected Ruth Langsford. The memoir is about looking at her life. It is about how she grew as a person and how she dealt with times. She talks about the pressures of her career and what it's like to get older when everyone is watching. The memoir is also about figuring out who she is after some big changes happened in her life. She used thoughtful words to make it clear that the book is about being honest about her feelings rather than trying to place blame or make things sound more exciting than they are. The memoir focuses on the truth of her experiences, and that is what makes it so meaningful. The book is really about her journey and how she learned to redefine her identity after going through some big changes. The news that the marriage breakdown would be talked about again made people curious. The timing was interesting because Holmes had not said much. Ruth seemed calm and in control, telling her story the way she wanted to. People wondered how much she would say, if the book would change what they thought about her from reading the tabloids for months. The book was meant to help her move on, not to fight back, so she told her story by thinking about it, not by reacting to what others said. As people got more excited for Feeling Fabulous, they also started to feel that Holmes was still really quiet and had a lot of feelings that were not being talked about. At the time, Ruth was slowly finding her voice again and taking control of how people would remember her story. She was making sure that her story was being told the way she wanted it to be. Feeling Fabulous was becoming a deal, and Ruth was becoming more confident in telling her own story. What do you think about Eamonn Holmes' revelations about Ruth Langsford? Leave your comments below. We hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next videos.